Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. And if you're like me, finding a place to eat is never an easy thing to do. Whether you're in New York or DC or traveling, I always find myself wishing I had a trusted friend I could call to tell me where to have dinner or lunch or just where to eat. The infatuation is that friend. The infatuation helps you find the right restaurant for any situation. Need a place for a first date? Trying to find a spot for your birthday that you don't want to celebrate, except you kind of have to. I had that a couple of weeks ago, by the way. The infatuation has you covered in all these situations and many, many more. So if you need a place to eat, but don't want to read through thousands of unreliable crowdsourced reviews from imbeciles that you have no idea who they are, hit up the infatuation down hit up theinfatuation.com or download their free app for iOS or Android to search thousands of restaurant reviews and guides in 22 major cities around the world. Or let the infatuation do the work for you by sending a text to 64560. Again, that's text to 64560. A real person is going to respond to you and help you find a restaurant that's perfect for whatever situation you're in. Now, let's get going. This is the No BS Coaching Advice Podcast, episode 118. I'm your host, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. By the way, do you know that I have another podcast called No BS Job Search Advice Radio? That's the #1 podcast in Apple Podcasts for job search. More than 1,400 episodes as of this recording. Now, with that said, No BS Coaching Advice is my show where I like to talk about things related to life, the universe, and everything. And I'm currently doing it as a weekly show, just like I started off with my other one, but it may evolve over the course of time into more frequency. And today's show, well, again, it's one of those synchronicity shows where conversations suddenly yield a show idea. And this, frankly, came to me over the weekend where I was talking to a dear friend who lost someone important to them, someone that they love very much. And she said to me, love them while they're here. And it's a great reminder, I think, that there are times we take people for granted in our lives, and they're not going to be here forever. Folks, we can miss out on some blessed opportunities to just be in connection and not postpone the moments. You know, it's one of the classic scenarios is, we'll start living life when we retire. We'll go traveling more. We'll do this together. And the reminder I'll have with you is make someday today. I'm going to repeat that one. Make someday today. I'd like you to take a moment and think of the metaphor of a parked car. And I'll use my son as an example from when he was very young, and he'd go out of the house and get behind the wheel of the car and imagine that he was driving it. Until, of course, we'd freak out a little bit, fearing that he actually had the car keys and was actually going to pull the steering wheel, pull the shift into gear, release the parking brake, because he was and still is very, very observant. So, just imagine yourself behind the wheel of a parked car. And with that, imagine you're going somewhere. Every time someone says, what would you like to do? And you say, I'm going to think about it. It's like being behind the wheel of the parked car. You're imagining at best. Most of the time, you're just pushing the person away. But if you are actually thinking about it, you're imagining that you're going somewhere and you're imagining that you're doing something. But here's a fact for you. You're missing a lot of the variables. You think, suddenly you're going to crash or suddenly you're going to get to the destination and you're missing a lot of factors. You may be missing traffic. You may be missing the fact that it's raining out and you got to put the wiper blades on. A lot of details that you're not seeing because you're behind the wheel of a parked car and the parked car really isn't going anywhere. The fact is, you can't steer a parked car. You gotta be in motion, right? You can't get to where you want to go to until you're actually driving. And it's the same thing with so many of the things that you say. I want to think about it. The only thing you really have to figure out is whether I want to do this thing or not do this thing. That's really it. Everything else is trying to steer a parked car. We'll be back in a moment after a word from our other sponsor. Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the host of the No BS Coaching Advice podcast here on Anchor.fm. If you've always wanted to start a podcast, Anchor makes it ridiculously easy to do it. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's completely free and ridiculously easy to use. I know I've used two other services. One was very expensive, like $700 a month expensive, until I realized I was getting hosed, and now it costs me much less, but it still costs me. Another service that's inexpensive, but it still costs me. Again, it's 100% free. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I do no BS coaching advice here, and it is a breeze. I can record on my laptop. I can record live off my phone. Again, very, very easy to use. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to Anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's Anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. So let's assume for a moment that you actually are going to think things through. What's the process going to look like? Are you going to sit in your living room with a newspaper being semi-distracted and hoping it happens in your mind while you're reading something? Like people actually read newspapers these days. But let's say you're there with your iPad and you're multitasking. You're ostensibly thinking about it, but you're actually on Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn, or some other venue. How much thinking do you think you're really doing? Probably 5% thinking and 95% the other thing. Okay, let me quadruple it. 20% thinking. Because what winds up happening is you're distracted. You're not really engaged in a process of thinking. Do you ask people for advice or input on your problem, or do you think you have to be the one who thinks it through? Maybe they'll see things from a different perspective than you. It's good to get inputs because you don't have to have all the answers. Now, yeah, you could hire a coach, but start off with people that you know, like, trust, and respect. Ask them for some advice. Lay out the scenario. Don't withhold anything. Lay out the scenario openly. And just simply say, this is what I'm thinking of. Do you see anything that I'm missing? That at least helps move the needle forward if you're actually going to think about it, which I frankly don't think you will. But hey, let's go along with the myth. And I'll just say that, you can keep going through the charade of quote-unquote thinking about it. But most of the time, what you really need to do is take action. I'm going to say that one more time. Most of the time, most of you really need to take action because all you're doing is procrastinating with a fancy title. Tuning out, zoning out, whatever you want to call it, your mind is not in the game. It's on the sidelines observing. Maybe. That's if under good circumstances. Most of the time, you're just not a participant. You're going through the motions. And frankly, I don't like it when I go through the motions. I want to be in the game all the time. I want to be playing hard. I want to be focused on winning. And, the game may go on forever. but I want to be putting in my best effort because I'm happiest when I put in my best effort. You may hate your work. You may really dislike it. And you're going to have to change jobs, or change your circumstances, or change your attitude. But you can't go through life tuned out, zoned out, not playing hard. All that happens is you start to get sloppy, and your life goes by much faster than you like. After all, as I've said on the show many times, a lifetime is not a long time. We like to think of ourselves as being immortal, but life has a way of showing us how foolish we are to act from that belief. So that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. Just subscribe so you get downloads whenever I release a new episode. Each show is going to be bite-sized morsels of advice just like today's. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you subscribe. And if you do choose to subscribe, I hope you decide to support the show. There's a link that will take you to anchor.fm where you can make a pledge in support of the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're interested in my coaching you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Mention that you listen to the show. I just happen to like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, message me about your interest in coaching. We'll set up a free call. We'll get acquainted, see if it makes sense. I'll be back soon with more. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Take care. Time for